Alright, yo, we live now. We back at it again. About to just go ahead and get my bro in here. Hope that you guys still tuning in with us. Again, there we go. Again, as said before,
Word.
my bro, Hood Pharmacist.
Yes, sir. What's good with y'all? Good people. Kinda.
What's good? So,
Hello.
again, like I said before, we are tapping into the Mis-Education of the Negro, reading it live. Again, if anybody has not read this book or does not know who the author is, it's by Carter G. Woodson, the father of Black History Month. So it's imperative for us to actually know who this person is, because we sitting here celebrating Black History Month, and people don't even know what his thoughts were on our plight and our situation and whatnot. So
Precisely.
it's a good thing to actually tap into our thinkers, our revolutionary thinkers, or our past thinkers and whatnot, and their work, their material.
And what better way to honor them, To bring their words back to life. It's powerful.
Exactly. Let me make sure the volume.
Hello, Alchemist. What up? Openness and Heart. That's an amazing name. What up, Allison? Allison or Mayman. Thanks for y'all being here with us. Me and Zach, we both have a book club called Unlocked TBC. So if you enjoy what you see here and you want to tap in with us with some different books, go ahead and follow us on IG. Send us a message and we'll tap you in. So in our other book club, we are reading The Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. So if you're interested in that, definitely tap in with us.
Okay. Again, so for those that don't necessarily, if you don't already follow the book club, again, it's named Unlocked because we actually unlocking our mentals. We unlocking curriculum material, thoughts, my bad, I said thinks. Thoughts that are not necessarily given us. As we know, we get like a watered down Black History Month. We get a watered down curriculum on Black history in the United States here, or just anywhere, really, talking to people in Brazil. And like I talked to someone in Trinidad some months ago, and he was telling me they basically get the same indoctrination as we do here. So again, it's imperative for us to be able to unlock our own words and our own thoughts.
Most definitely. And so I always say this: our ancestors did an amazing job of breaking the physical chains, but we trying to break the mental chains. So we doing because coming back to our original selves isn't just physical; it's mental. So, we're getting your minds back to where they need to be. We're getting our minds back to where they need to be. And, this is one thing that I want to just say to the people watching, the people that read with us. Zach and I, we don't have all the answers. But what we're doing is we're using these books to get the answers, and we're doing it with y'all. So when we find these answers, we can, figure out what's best. What do we need? We take what we need, leave what we don't, but we use these answers from these books to come to go to greater places in life, and to really fight for Black and African and indigenous liberation.
I like what you just now said. The ancestors broke those physical chains. We're trying to break those mental chains. And as we know, to come full circle with that Trinity, eventually we get into those spiritual chains.
Exactly. That's the real unlocking process. It's one of them.
Exactly.
And once we can unlock that and utilize our spiritual power, we'll recognize that we are supposed to be unified and not separate, and use that spiritual power to aid in our liberation. So I think that's part of the end goal right there, man.
Exactly. So I was talking to my cousin earlier, just before we knock in here. My cousin OG, like real knowledgeable on game and conscious and whatnot. Like years ago, I didn't realize what he was talking to me about, And I was just talking to him about essentially, this kind of reminds me of, because it's titled "The Mis-Education of the Negro." Yeah. As we know, we don't necessarily go by that term anymore, Negro. And I remember when I first read this book, I was posting like some of my highlights and whatnot in it, and this Yoruba Caucasian male, he actually DM'd me
Yeah.
and he was like, "Man, I hate that they call y'all they shouldn't have called y'all Negro and whatnot." And I was trying to tell him like this book was written in 1933, so it's not like this is a current day book where they still calling us Negro or something like that. But just in the sense of how we've had so many different names all this time, like you go from originally, you know, nobody. I don't think many people know what our people were originally called. Like you had Africa was originally Al-Kebilan, and before that, I'm
Okay.
pretty sure it had another name.
Ethiopia. It was another name that
Exactly.
was for all of Africa.
Exactly.
Kush, you know.
So, and then like I'm wondering if there was anything even before that, you know. But it's like now you go to African, you come here, then people calling you a slave. You were enslaved as a
Yep.
people, and then after that you got many different like you have Negro, and there's
Let's not glance over the obvious one. You
oh
got
yeah,
nigger.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
but yeah. But I was gonna say
Yeah,
like
yeah.
in the sense of it said that you know the Europeans couldn't roll their R's, so then they just like all
Oh,
right,
for real?
nigga, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So and I know when you go into the history of Negro, then you have so many different things going on there. You have just it meaning black, but also it coming from necro. We're talking about necrophilia, so meaning dead skin. So then you moving further and further on, and you finally got Negro. And you have people saying Afro American and African American, then black, and it's like,
Color.
bro, yeah, colored. Yeah, my
And
bad, I
these,
skipped over that one.
and these were none of the names that we gave to ourselves. So
Not at
these are
all.
identities that were placed upon us by our colonizers and our masters. So we got to come to an identity that we want. You know, we got to choose that. And
So and even today, just historically, but also today, people that's like they have a good case of saying like, no, we're Moors, like we're a Moors nation, or you have people saying no, it's African, like African nation, like thinking of the fact of like why black, the color, you know. So
black signifies a race, and racism is a social construct started by Europeans. So before they started this, there was no such thing as race. Race wasn't a thing. It's a recent phenomenon.
exactly,
So, you know, by identifying as black, you're inputting yourself into that system of racism. So we need to come to a greater identity that's more accurate and more truthful and that resonates with us on a deeper level, not just a surface level, but like a spiritual, cultural, mental level.
exactly. If you really touched into many of our great thinkers' works, the one thing that's always in common is them talking about the need for self-determination. And your name, in a sense, if someone else has named you, then that already sets you off on a, like what he just now said. You're putting yourself on terms of other people. You're putting yourself in other people's terms. So then you can't have self-determination that way. So therefore, like just something to think about. You know, like not saying don't stop calling you. Now I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but
Right.
just think about it. Just think about it, okay?
Yeah.
Um,
And what would be an identity that's more empowering for you? What would be your most empowering identity? You know,
exactly. Just always keep in mind, man. They made black up. That's the first thing I'm gonna always keep in
we
mind.
ain't come up with that shit. I
Exactly.
mean, I won't say that we didn't call each other black, but you know,
Well, yeah. Because then you have Kemet,
yeah,
land of the
exactly.
blacks. So
Land of the
like
black. So, but
again,
the system, but using it in the context of race is
right.
something that's yeah, that was good.
So yeah. Just wanted to top it up on that for a little bit.
So
But yeah, so again, if you're just now hopping in with us, we read in the Mis-Education of the Negro. Previously, if you want to, you can check out either my IGTV or tap into I already uploaded. What's up, fam? I already uploaded the first night that we read with the first the introduction in the first chapter on YouTube. So if you actually want to tap in and catch up with us on the reading, we are literally reading the entire chapter, but also breaking down like how we interpret it, what it means, how we were relating it to today, and how it actually like what exactly this means for us today and how we move forward. Because again, Sankofa. We're not just reading just for information's sake. We reading so that we can progress forward.
I'll show you. So you just want to go ahead and set an intention. You've been taking that off pretty well.
Yeah. So again, like we said before, we want to do. What's up, fam?
What up,
like we said before, we always want to do things with intention. You never want to do things like unconsciously. So always make sure you're doing things with intention, because from our experience so far, when we set the intention off the right way, we're always having productive time, or we're always having a good time, a loving time with other people, where we're
full of spirit,
full of spirit, and all it. If you're not doing things with spirit, then what are you doing?
Right, you're doing it without.
Yeah. And that means you must be dead.
Because that's the only thing driving you right now.
Exactly.
The main thing driving you.
So, just to set us off right, we always want to thank the creator, the source, the energy, the most high, the universe, whatever God is to you. Because again, we respect all, but we understand like there is one source that got us all to where we are. So we always must thank our creator in that sense. Second off, you wanna do the second?
Well, sure. And I was also gonna say, when you give thanks, you invite things to come to you in return for that. You know what I'm saying? It's a mutual relationship there. But yeah, also give thanks to our ancestors, the people that did what they had to do so we could be where we are today. Our family members that passed, that may not have made it, to the West, that died in the trip. Our African ancestors, our ancestors that we know. The people that put us in the position to be where we are today, we give thanks to them, and we honor the people that did the work so we could be free physically and on the road to being free mentally.
Exactly. Ashe. So, and then I would like to just thank you, brother. I thank all y'all on here.
Yes, sir.
Because we can't do this without y'all, and that's what it is. So, again, setting that intention.
Thank y'all for being here with us.
Yeah, thank you. So, just a very quick recap, because again, like I said before, y'all can catch the other lives on my IGTV. No, not IGTV, on my live. Or again, we're in the process of uploading them to YouTube. The first one's already on there. So we went through the preface, where again, one quote that stood out to me personally on there was, when you control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions. You do not have to tell him not to stand here or go yonder. He will find his proper place and will stay in it. You do not need to send him to the back door. He will go without being told. In fact, if there is no back door, he will cut one for his special benefit. His education makes it necessary. Then in the future, bro, I think we should just have like one quote just from each one that we appreciate it, just to, if somebody else ain't been on it before.
Yeah.
But chapter 1 was titled "The Seat on the Trouble." Here he basically just outlined essentially what exactly we were dealing with the educational process, in a sense where it wasn't necessarily benefiting us. Like, we were going to school, but it was like so-called school. Like, we weren't getting the education that really actually benefited us. Because by the time we were getting it, they were already moving into something else. I'm probably mixed that up with how we missed the mark. Chapter 2 is how we missed the mark. And this is essentially him saying that we're striving after something that isn't really for us. And again, just keep in mind that this is the second African American to graduate from Harvard, right after the great W.E.B. Du Bois. So if somebody that highly intellectual with that has gone to that prestige of a school, depending on how you look at it, and he's telling you, I've been miseducated, we've all been miseducated, then it's probably something. Yeah.
Something we should look at, especially since we're all celebrating his month, Black History Month.
Exactly. So, chapter 3. In this one, we're talking about how we drifted away from the truth. You want to start it off, or you want me to?
Nah, go ahead and start it off. Let's roll with it.
So this one, again, like we said before, these are pretty short chapters. So we plan on finishing the book on the lives, not today, but just as we continue.
Exactly.
This one's only like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages in total, like really 4.5. So I'll probably read into like the next 2 pages.
Okay.
All right,
Word.
cool.
So I'll read this page and the next page?
Yeah, I'll read this one all the way up into the end of the paragraph that continues on to page 19.
Okay.
If we have the same pages, my bad. It just ends in law schools.
Nah. We got different things.
It's
I'll
cool.
just
It's
read
cool.
for a couple pages. We'll figure it out.
It's
All
cool.
right.
It's cool. All right.
Let's run it.
So chapter 3, how we drifted away from the truth. How then did the education of the Negro take such a trend? The people who maintained schools for the education of certain Negroes before the Civil War were certainly sincere, and so were the missionary workers who went south to enlighten the freed men after the results of the conflict had given the Negroes a new status. These earnest workers, however, had more enthusiasm than knowledge. They did not understand the task before them. This undertaking, too, was more of an effort toward social uplift than actual education. Their aim was to transform the Negroes, not to develop them. The freed men who were to be enlightened were given little thought, for the best friends of the race, ill taught themselves, followed the traditional curricula of the times, which did not take the Negro into consideration except to condemn or pity him. In geography, the races were
I
described.
mean, I just want let me just comment on that right there, where he said that.
I was kind of hoping you would stop.
Yeah. Where he talking about how this undertaking was more of an effort towards social uplift and education. It was meant to transform the Negro rather than truly develop him.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of, I mean, he's talking to. They really give you an assimilationist education, so they weren't teaching you to really be a real thinker or a real Black or African person.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted you to transform to what they wanted you to be, and that's what their education. That's the role that their education played.
Exactly. And just like with everything that's going on now, like, is this something tangible? Like, as far as like what we're talking about with this past 2020 year, where we're always fighting for social justice, again, it's like social uplift. Like, have we gotten anything tangible yet? So cool to continue.
Yeah. Go ahead.
In geography, the races were described in conformity with the program of the usual propaganda to engender in whites a race hate of the Negro, and in the Negroes contempt for themselves. A poet of distinction was selected to illustrate the physical features of the white race. A bedecked or bedecked, man, this terminology back then, bro. A bedecked chief of a group, those of the red ape. Wow. Apologies, bro. I'm gonna run that back. A poet of distinction was selected to illustrate the physical features of the white race. A bedecked chief of a group, those of the red, a proud warrior, the brown, a prince, the yellow, and a savage with a ring in his nose, the black Negro, of course, stood at the foot of the social ladder. So essentially, he just now said whites were on top.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had the red brother. Then you had the brown yellow brother. And then at the end, you got the black brothers.
Blacks, yeah.
Yeah.
A savage with a
Right.
ring in their nose. You know, that makes me think about the NFL. What they tell them boys to be savages. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you have that dog in you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the description of the various parts of the world was worked out according to the same plan. The parts inhabited by the Caucasian were treated in detail. Less attention was given to the yellow people, still less to the red, very little to the brown, and practically none to the black race. Those people who are far removed from the physical characteristics of the Caucasian, or who do not materially assist them in the domination or exploitation of others, were not mentioned except to be belittled or decried. From the teaching of science, the Negro was likewise eliminated. The beginnings of science in various parts of the Orient, when again Orient is in Asia, if you don't know, um, in various parts of the Orient were mentioned, but the Africans' early advancement in this field was omitted. Students were not told the ancient Africans of the interior knew sufficient science to concoct poisons for arrowheads, to mix durable colors for paintings, to extract metals from nature and refine them for development in the industrial arts.
You got to say that, man. They built the pyramids too. I just want to say that.
Exactly. And debatable or not, the
Yeah.
Hebrews were not. No, I ain't going there yet. I ain't gonna go there yet. I ain't gonna go there yet. We ain't got. We'll show y'all them books too eventually. But very little was said about the chemistry in the method of Egyptian balming, which was the product of the mixed breeds of northern Africa, now known in the modern world as colored people. In the study of language in school, pupils were made to scoff at the Negro dialect as some peculiar possession of the Negro which they should despise rather than directed to study the background of this language as broken down African tongue. In short, to understand their own linguistic history, which is certainly more important for them than the study of French phonetics or historical Spanish grammar. To the African languages, as such, no attention was given except in the case of the preparation of traders, missionaries, and public functionaries to exploit the natives. This number of persons, thus trained, of course, constituted a small fraction, hardly deserving attention. So I just want to add in right here that, for instance, like we all know Kiswahili is out there to learn. You know, this is um, a trader's language, right?
Exactly.
But and I just recently found out, I forgot if it was from Dr. Carr or where I heard this from. But in California, I forget which prison it was, but some brothers were actually like telling each other, like, yo, we teaching each other the Swahili, so the guards don't even know what we're saying. Mm-hmm. Then that prison ended up making it a requirement that the guards learn Swahili. Right. So again, it's kind of like nobody really cares to learn these things until you actually start putting some effort into it and you using it for benefits, you know? Because as you see right here, they weren't caring about studying that. From literature, the African was excluded altogether. He was not supposed to have expressed any thought worth knowing. And that's crazy. That's crazy because we know where Plato got his work from.
Exactly. I think I wanted to really mention all that stuff, but I think he actually gets into it here. I was kind of looking ahead, so I'm being patient.
The philosophy in the African proverbs and in the rich folklore of that continent was ignored to give preference to that developed on the distant shores of the Mediterranean. Most missionary teachers of the freedmen, like most men of our time, had never read the interesting books of travel in Africa and had never heard of the Tariq as-Sudan. And I doubt anybody heard of that before this book.
Nah, do you know what that is? Because I don't.
Nah, but that's some homework now.
Yeah, right. So you only pick up right here?
Nah, give me 2 more paragraphs and I got you.
Okay, cool.
In the teaching of fine arts, these instructors usually started with Greece by showing how that art was influenced from without. But they omitted the African influence, which scientists now regard as significant and dominant in early Hellas. They failed to teach the student the Mediterranean melting pot with the Negroes from Africa bringing their wares, their ideas, and their blood therein to influence the history of Greece, Carthage, and Rome, making desire father to the thought. Our teachers either ignored these influences or endeavored to belittle them by working out theories to the contrary. The bias did not stop at this point, for it invaded the teaching of the professions. Negro law students were told that they belonged to the most criminal element in the country, and an effort was made to justify the procedure in the seats of injustice where law was interpreted as being one thing for the white man and a different thing for the Negro. In constitutional law, the spineless the spinelessness of the United States Supreme Court in permitting the judicial nullification of the 14th and 15th Amendments was and still is boldly upheld in our few law schools. Bro, so I always try to tell people, we all know these amendments, like these 14th Amendment is the only thing keeping that 3/5 of slave clause in the Second Amendment any from existing for us anymore, right? And we know from, and forgive my mind right now, because I believe it was the 18th and the 21st amendments for and somebody, if y'all know, please type it in the chat. The 18th and the 21st, with 18th where they prohibited liquor and alcohol, but then the 21st they brought it back, and I might be a little off on it. But as we know, amendments can be changed at any time, which is why, like, the Supreme Court, again, law is as they interpret it. It is not concrete. It's not objective. It's not something that, oh, it's against the law, as we know, because we know this stuff, like, we see stuff all the time happening against the law, and they still get away with it at times. So again, I try to get people to think like, yo, Trump had put, well, we got a 6-9, and again, and if y'all know me, I'm not Republican or Democrat, but you have 6-9 Republicans to Democrats, and the Supreme Court can change the way these amendments end up being, and they still come together to vote on this stuff like annually, meaning that it is not safe for you thinking like, oh, they'll never do that again, or we can never do that again. Like, people forget one of the reasons why the first people here that were slaves were indentured servants, and the only way they became indentured servants was because of debt. Yep. And this whole country runs on debt. So, like, what exactly? It's not that far-fetched to think that some of this stuff can happen. I'm not saying it is, but always just think about it. Think about it.
Oh, it's real, man. All right, so I'll pick up right here.
All right, gotcha. Yeah, that's the one.
Cool. In medical schools, Negroes were likewise convinced of their inferiority and being reminded of their role as germ carriers. The prevalence of syphilis and tuberculosis among Negroes was especially emphasized, without showing that these maladies are more deadly among the Negroes for the reason that they are Caucasian diseases. And since these plagues are new to Negroes, these sufferers have not had time to develop against them the immunity which time has permitted in the Caucasian. Other diseases to which Negroes easily fall prey were mentioned to point out the race as an undesirable element, when this condition was due to the Negro's economic and social status. Little emphasis was placed upon the immunity of the Negro from diseases like yellow fever and influenza, which are so disastrous to whites. Yet the whites were not considered inferior because of this differential resistance to these plagues. And what he doesn't mention right here is the trials in which they were literally giving Black people syphilis. Right. And putting this into our communities and letting it spread without our knowledge and not giving us the cure. Having the cure and not giving us the cure for like how many years after? I don't know, was it like 40 years that this went
it was like up until
unrectified? Crazy.
In history, medical apartheid.
Yeah, I ain't ready yet, but it's on my list. In history, of course, the Negro had no place in this curriculum. He was pictured as a human being of lower order, unable to subject passion to reason, and therefore useful only when made of hewer of wood and the drawer of water for others. No thought was given to the history of Africa except so far as it had been a field of exploitation for the Caucasian. You might study history as it was offered in our system from the elementary school throughout the university, and you would never hear Africa mentioned except in the negative. You would never thereby learn that Africans first domesticated the sheep, goat, and cow, developed the idea of trial by jury, produced the first stringed instruments, and gave the world its greatest boon in the discovery of iron. You would never know that prior to the Mohammedan invasion, about 1000 AD, these natives in the heart of Africa had developed powerful kingdoms, which were later organized as the Songhai empire on the order of that of the Romans and boasting of similar grandeur. Unlike other people, then, the Negro, according to this point of view, was an exception to the natural plan of things, and he had no such mission as that of an astounding contribution to culture. The status of the Negro, then, was justly fixed as that of an inferior. Teachers of Negroes in their first schools after emancipation did not proclaim any such doctrine, but the content of their curricular justified these indifferences.
You mind if I hop in right here?
Nah, hop in, bro.
So again, bro, we all know, man, again, Marimba Ani, bro, y'all need to tap into her if you can, but we all know we have a natural rhythm to us, you know, like the drums are sacred in Africa. So like that's something sacred to us. But here he's also saying we had the stringed instruments. Now I ended up having to take what was it? It's like music appreciation. And the very first person we learned about is some German woman, like named Hildegard de Bingen. Now if any of y'all ever look her, I'll never forget it because like it was drilled in my head, like Hildegard de Bingen. Look this woman up and listen to the music. It sounds like nothing that we have today. Like so like hearing what she has, and this is like the first thing they were trying to talk about. Like, this was like European music originally. And then I'm looking at this knowing that we had the drums. I'm looking at this and talking about we had the stringed instruments too. And we all know, like, in modern day times, we had blues, jazz, then that created country, that created rock, that created pop, hip hop, everything that we have today. But this right here is just showing even way back then. It's still
Negroes were using instruments.
Exactly.
I just said Negroes. Africans were using instruments. My apologies. That's just from me reading the book, being in that mindset. But also like the importance of the instruments. Like these instruments, they were definitely music, but they definitely had meaning as well. So I took a traditional African drumming class at UGA, and it was amazing. But you learn like when they played the drums, it was signaling. So like if there were enemies coming from different territories or European enslavers coming to the village to try to get prisoners of war, they would play the drums, and that would signify all the people throughout the communities, letting them know that that these people were coming and to be prepared. So these drums had greater significance, and the music had great importance.
Talking drums, exactly.
Yeah. Djembes.
Yeah. So, man, people again tap into what your roots are. I'm gonna let you continue, Ro. My bad.
Okay. An observer from outside of the situation naturally inquires why the Negroes, many of whom serve their race as teachers, have not changed this program. These teachers, however, are powerless. Negroes have no control over their education and have little voice in their other affairs pertaining thereto. In a few cases, Negroes have been chosen as members of public boards of education, and some have been appointed members of private boards. But these Negroes are always such a small minority that they do not figure in the final working of the educational program. The education of the Negroes, then, the most important thing in the uplift of the Negroes, is almost entirely in the hands of those who have enslaved them and now segregate them. With miseducated Negroes in control themselves, however, it is doubtful that the system would be very much different from what it is, or that would rapidly undergo change. So right here, he's really pointing that a miseducated Negro, so if you're educated in this European system, you're just going to live out and recreate what they would have created themselves. So it's just it's pointing to that system of control. The Negroes thus placed in charge would be the products of the same system and would show no more conception of the task at hand than do the whites who have educated them and shaped their minds as they would have them function. You tap in, bro.
I was gonna say, could that be just considered miseducation, like how we have neo-colonialism?
Yeah.
Like is that like saying just because it's a black person teaching me, don't mean that teaching me was really
the right thing, Yeah, and that we gotta be cautious of that, and we gotta really listen and analyze when we get information. So when we get information, a thinking person is a questioning person. So you got to be able to critically think. So even though these are scholars that we're reading, all the time we're critically thinking and we're analyzing, because every black or African scholar, as he's pointing out right now, isn't really for our liberation and our empowerment. So we have to use our discernment and we have to use our critical thinking skills to, you know, figure out what's really for us and what's really not.
Discernment is key.
Okay, where did I stop off? Negro educators of today may have more sympathy and interest in the race than the whites, now exploiting Negro institutions as educators, but the former have no more vision than their competitors, taught from books of the same bias, trained by Caucasians of the same prejudices, or by Negroes of enslaved minds. One generation of Negro teachers after another have served for no higher purpose than to do what they are told to do. In other words, a Negro instructor teaching Negro children is in many respects a white teacher, thus engaged, for the program in each case is about the same. There can be no reasonable objection to the Negro's doing what the white man tells him to if the white man tells him to do what is right, but right is purely relative. The present system under the control of the white trains the Negroes to be white and at the same time convinces him of the impropriety or the impossibility of his becoming white. It compels the Negro to become a good Negro, for the performance of which his education is ill-suited. For the white man's exploitation of the Negro through economic restriction and segregation, the present system is sound and will doubtless continue this actual place to the saner policy of actual interracial cooperation, not the present farce of racial manipulation in which the Negro is a figurehead. History does not furnish a case of the elevation of a people by ignoring the thought and aspiration of the people thus served. So, you know, that really brings up that conversation about multiculturalism. Yeah. And what really is multiculturalism, and does it really, you know, play sufficient, does it really give these different cultures their sufficient energy and give them their sufficient credit? Exactly. Because they'll say multiculturalism and then just glance over Africa, you know. Yeah. So is it really multicultural? Or they'll teach about Africa from the perspective of the European or the Western lens, and that's just one perspective. So to have a true multicultural education, you gotta attack these stories of history from different perspectives. You have to be able to see it from, you know, the whole. You got to see it from the outside, the whole view. Keep going. Good. I thought you had something to say.
I was going to, but I'm gonna let you get it.
Okay. This is slightly dangerous ground here. However, for the Negro's mind has all but perfectly enslaved, in that he has been trained to think what is desired of him. The highly educated Negroes do not like to hear anything uttered against this procedure because they make their living in this way and they feel that they must defend the system. Few miseducated Negroes ever act otherwise, and if they so express themselves, they are easily crushed by the large majority to the contrary, so that the procession may move on without interruption. The result, then, is that the Negroes, thus miseducated, are of no service to themselves and none to the white man. The white man does not need the Negro's professional, commercial, or industrial assistance, and as a result of the multiplication of mechanical appliances, he no longer needs them in drudgery or menial service. The highly educated Negroes, moreover, do not need the Negro professional or commercial classes because Negroes have been taught that the whites can serve them more efficiently in these spheres. Reduced then to the teaching and preaching, the Negroes will have no outlet but to go down a blind alley, if the sort of education which they are now receiving is to enable them to find the way out of their present difficulties.
That man spitting.
Spitting facts, big facts.
Yeah. You want to go
but
first?
You know, I want to ask you what you think about those last two paragraphs where he says that the white man does not need the Negro's professional, commercial, or industrial assistance. How accurate do you think that is? Well, I think that's accurate as long as they may have them miseducated. Well, maybe not. I don't know. You know, I think it's like a half truth, honestly.
I feel as though within the United States, the context of the United States, we're slowly labor, like manual labor, is becoming obsolete anyways. So again, that's why we are pushing people to get more into STEM, because we understand where the future is going. They're trying to specialize everybody in the STEM departments and whatnot, which again, we know there's positive and negatives to everything. So it's good to always, again, discernment is key. Don't always think anything is good for you, and vice versa. But I feel as though, as far as like Africa, man, they ain't getting out there in them mines. But
you know, one thing that
they're
I'm
not doing
realizing
that.
though, that they're talking about in this paragraph, he's talking about specifically highly educated Negroes.
Oh,
So
well, as far as
I don't
okay,
think he's
as far as
necessarily
that,
talking about the working class, because the working class has enormous power.
yeah.
But I think he's saying that those who go to get educated so they can be workers and make this money, that they don't really need these people.
Well, that's the cycle.
Yeah.
That seems to be the cycle. We just kind of on the back end of it, trying to catch up all the time. So I mean, I still see this today. I like when he said that right there, the highly educated Negroes do not like to hear anything uttered against this procedure, because they make their living in this way, and they feel that they must defend the system.
I'm glad
Like,
you read that, because I almost want to say it again, man.
bro, like that is basically what Jacob Carruthers is talking about with the internal civil war that we had.
Exactly.
Like you've taken your oppressor's tokens, you've climbed your oppressor's ladder, and most people think like, oh, I'm gonna make it so high, and then I'm gonna climb this ladder, and then I'm gonna reach back and pull everybody up. But in order to actually pull everybody up, you're gonna have to knock some pegs off that ladder,
Exactly.
and you're
And
not gonna do that.
and to that point, man, so they got us playing this game of capitalism. But we, as we know, through capitalism, somebody got to lose so somebody else can win. You know, capitalism is basically a system of exploitation and hierarchy. So, you know, people are playing this game, but we have to play. We do have to play to some extent.
To
But
some extent.
people are playing this game of black capitalism and will not, you know, give back to their communities, or, you know, do things in a more fair, unifying for everyone manner, because the way they made their money and got to the point where they is basically thinking about themselves. So, you know, it's a contradiction.
I believe, again, I say the same thing every time. Capitalism is nothing but socialism for the rich.
Yep.
People study secret societies all the time. When are you gonna make your own? When are you actually gonna start communally working together with other people to make it work out? Like, because it doesn't work individually. You may have those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, but we know the majority of the people, as I was reading today, it's about 795 million people on this earth that go to sleep starving every day.
Wow.
So, and a majority of the people in this earth live off of less than $2 a day. Now I'm talking about that's 8 billion people. What's good, fam? I appreciate the love. Again, people, like, I'm not necessarily saying that, you know, what you need to change everything you're doing, but start, again, think about it. I'm telling folks, just think about it, because once you start thinking more, you really can start changing things. You know, like, there shouldn't be, as Martin Luther King Jr. said it at one of his final sermons, it's one of my favorite things to watch. The man is literally telling them back in the 60s, like, yo, technology's advanced so much, y'all can feed everybody. And if y'all want to watch a documentary that mentions this, it could be Cowspiracy, I believe, where it talks about, like, we have so many grains, so much corn, you can feed everybody on this earth.
Yeah.
So again, like, you can still play the socialistic game within this capitalistic game.
Exactly. So right here we're at the end of chapter 3. How many pages is chapter 4? And do we want to start that today, or do we want to save that? Because
Okay. Chapter 4 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5 pages.
So I'm not on the time limit, but so I'll let you decide.
23. All right, for y'all on here, if y'all want more, give me a thumbs up. Like,
yeah. If y'all want more of this, spam up that heart button, or put a 1 in the chat.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave it up to y'all. If not, then it's cool. We can end it here, because I'm gonna dip off and read the Destruction of Black Civilization or Walter Rodney's How Europe Underdeveloped Africa.
Okay.
All right, we got one thumbs up.
We got one thumbs up. I ain't seeing no hearts though, man. I ain't seeing no hearts. Well, I can't even.
All right, so it's 6 pages. We started off about a little 15 minutes after. So I think we can knock it out.
Okay.
She
Yeah, we
said,
were just saying, spam with the hearts if y'all wanted us to keep reading. That was the question. That was all.
again, I do want to finish this within Black History Month. So
exactly. So let's do it, man. And we doing this for we doing this for us, but we also doing it for y'all as well.
yeah.
So let's get into it.
So you want me to start this one off, or you want this one?
I was just reading, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it.
All right, I'm gonna read. It's 6 pages in total, so I'm gonna read about three and a quarter.
You read 3 in your book, and then I'll pick up wherever because our text is different.
All right, bet.
Cool.
So, Chapter 4: Education Under Outside Control. In the new program of educating the Negro, what would become of the white teachers of the race? Some would recently inquire. My bad. I messed that all up. Someone recently inquired. This is a simple question requiring only a brief answer. The remaining few Christian workers who went south not so long after the Civil War and established schools and churches to lay the foundation on which we should now be building more wisely than we do, we would honor as a martyred throng. Anathema be upon him who would utter a word derogatory to the record of these heroes and heroines. We would pay high tribute also to unselfish Southerners like Haygood, Kirby, Ruffner, Northern, and Vance, and to white men of our time who believed that the only way to elevate people is to help themselves. I'll say again, I kind of feel a little different about that. Bro. I tell people all the time, bro, the only way you can do anything with power is to empower yourself. Your oppressor cannot give you no power. It can't pull you up. None of that. It don't work that way historically. We got evidence.
And we gotta understand that we got,
Exactly. We always have. The unfortunate successors of the Northern missionary teachers of the Negroes, however, have thoroughly demonstrated that they have no useful function in the life of the Negro. They have not the spirit of their predecessors and do not measure up to the requirements of educators desired in accredited colleges. My bad, I'm gonna pause one more time right here because I know people all the time, and being an educator, I know people who do Teach for America. They hire Teach for America, and Teach for America puts you in communities that need help. But they don't need help from people that only want to stay there just to get your loans paid off. So like again, like we want sincere people in our schools. We don't need somebody just come in here just to get your loans paid off. And when you stay there for a year and then dip back to a county that you actually enjoy. So like I agree with him right here. Like y'all don't help. If Negro institutions are to be as efficient as those for the whites in the South, the same high standard for the educators to direct them should be maintained. Negro schools cannot go forward with such a load of inefficiency, and especially when the white presidents of these institutions are often less scholarly than the Negroes who have to serve under them.
So right there, do you think that when he says high standard, do you think that that black people or African people, indigenous people should have the same educational guidelines as Europeans or white people?
No,
not at all.
I don't know. Again, I believe Michelle Obama is out there at one point saying like she's been in rooms with all these leaders and they're not that smart. Again, we're at what, President 46 now? And we still have people that have no heart that still can't figure out how to handle like simple situations. Like we have so many scholars that have written countless amount of works on our plight here in the United States. And we even herald them, we celebrate them, but we haven't learned anything from them. And you tell me we've had 46, in my opinion, we've had 46 dumb presidents. We have not had a single smart president yet. And let me take that back. Intelligent president yet, in my personal opinion. Because if so, like, again, we haven't figured out things that our ancestors already had figured out yet.
I'm
So
sorry.
that's something that doesn't make any sense. Blessings, fam.
Yeah, blessings to all y'all in here. Thank y'all for being here as well. We didn't really mention that just as well. I see Tiff, Ray, Love, Talila, No, Uniquely Daniel, what's good? Jabroni, what's up, everybody? Thank y'all for being here with us.
Yeah. So to be
but
honest with
also, man, like the curriculum they go by should not be the same curriculum we get, or they need to redo their curriculum so it could really be a high standard. Because we got too many people without an accurate understanding of history and an accurate political education and actually interpersonal education.
you,
Just
right?
how, like you were saying, like how to be with other people in a non-psychotic manner. Like those things need to be changed.
Even emotional intelligence, bro.
Yep.
Like and when I was teaching in public school, bro, like we had 15 minutes to go over ESL, which was emotional, social, dang, it wasn't ESL, it was emotional, social emotion. It was something back, my bad, bro. It's been a minute since I've been in public school. So
yeah.
like we had 15 minutes to tell kids how to be in touch with their emotions.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that in 15 minutes?
And exactly, you feel your emotions all day, and you
Exactly.
only 15 minutes towards that work. That's not real work.
Exactly. So man, yeah. So I'm with you. I don't think we've figured this out yet. I don't think we need the same education.
We need to set a high standard as Black and African people, and then hold our people to that standard.
Yeah.
And then they can figure themselves out. But that's what we need to do.
Exactly. I don't strive to be white nothing. So like,
say that, man.
So and again, since it's all made up, remember you don't have to be white. Right. Just remember that. Negro schools cannot go forward with the. Did I read this already? I don't know. I forgot. We talked too much. My bad.
Go ahead.
Okay. Negro schools cannot go forward with such a load of inefficiency, and especially when the white presidents. Yeah, I read that. I'm gonna read it in one more time for the people in here, just in case. Especially when the white presidents of these institutions are often less scholarly than the Negroes who have to serve under them. By law.
Wait, hold on, bro. We got a question, man. I just want to address it. Neek2Red says, what does that standard look like? How can we assess our own standards?
You have Sankofa.
Sankofa.
That's all I can. Honestly, that's all I can say. You have to go back to see what your ancestors had as a standard first. Mm-hmm. Again, like he said in the beginning, man, we not even just trying to be on some. I know how people look at Hotep nowadays, but not even trying to be on some mess like that. But think about it, bro. It was Africans that really built these pyramids. It was Africans that came up with the music that we had today. It was Africans that came up with the poison, that came up with the way to work iron. It was Africans that
had civilizations that lasted longer than any European civilization, thousands of years. You know what I mean? They don't have anything to match with that. You know what I mean? So like what you're saying, going back to understand our history, and then once we got that understanding, what do we do? What was Sankofa to you?
I personally would say one standard that you should always have is to, and it's in my to leave this world better than you came into it, in my opinion. Like when you're talking about like truth, justice, order, balance, harmony, reciprocity, righteousness, and all of that together, when you can actually put that inside of your curriculum and you are building character, which influences the thought, your heart and mind is together. You can't live without one or the other. And then once you put that along with the leaving this world better than you came in, like as we see with this capitalistic system, are we doing that? Our water is polluted. Our air is polluted. You know,
our bodies are polluted.
So like when we come to a point where we can get back to giving more life to our mother Earth, they gave us life.
Are the women in our lives, ourselves, you know?
Then I would say that's the standard you have to go off of. It can't be on some materialistic standard saying that, oh dang, he's a billionaire, like, oh, that's success, oh, that's high standards. No, these are some fools, bro. If you listen to Bill Gates, man, where's his heart? It wasn't until he got in trouble and then married his wife that he actually wanted to go out there and say, "Oh, let me help out the folks in India that don't have plumbing." So like you can't have a monetary standard when we're talking about our curriculum. We have to go back to what our ancestors truly valued, because right now what's here is European values.
And you know, Sankofa. So once we have an understanding of these values, you have an understanding of your history and what that means for you. You take that and you take the best of what you need and you put that and you take that and you put that into drive so you can mold yourself into a greater future. That is the idea of Sankofa.
Right.
Going back to taking what you need and taking what you need and carrying that into the future.
Yeah. Like people always think, man, they always trying to go back to Africa, trying to make it old ways and stuff like that. That's not Sankofa. That's not Sankofa. We trying to progress. It's always about progression. It's always understanding you moving forward. You know, but you still one with the past.
I say, and like Ray is saying, you know, what lineage do you want to leave behind? Who will you touch? Like what you do here on this planet should be meaningful. You should do something that is empowering to you and your people. That should be something that we all strive to do.
Exactly. Like Baba Baruti said.
Yes, sir.
Your standard is what your 7 generations from now. That is what your standard should be based on.
I say, man.
My bad, man. We going on a little tangent.
Yeah, I know.
I'm trying to hop off at 10, man. All right, so dang, let me reread this part right here. By law and custom, the white presidents and teachers of Negro schools are prevented from participating freely in the life of the Negro. They occupy, therefore, a most uncomfortable dual position. When the author once taught in a school with a mixed faculty, the white women connected with the institution. My bad. Mixed faculty, the white women connected with the institution would bow to him in patronizing fashion when on the campus. But elsewhere, they did not see him. A white president of one Negro school never entertains a Negro in his home, preferring to shift such guests to the students' dining room. Another white president of a Negro college maintains on the campus a guest cottage which Negroes can enter only as servants. Still, another such functionary does not allow students to enter his home through the front door. Negroes trained under such conditions without protest become downright cowards, and in life will continue as slaves in spite of their nominal emancipation. What different method of approach or what sort of appeal would one make to the Negro child that cannot be made just as well by a white teacher? Someone asked not long ago. So again, it's like, you know what, white teachers can teach just as good. You know, like, okay, supposedly. To be frank, we must concede that there is no particular body of facts that Negro teachers can impart to children of their own race that may not be just as easily presented by persons of another race if they have the same attitude as Negro teachers. But in most cases, tradition, race hate, segregation, and terrorism make such a thing impossible. The only thing to do in this case, then, is to deal with the situation as it is. Yet, we should not take the position that a qualified white person should not teach in a Negro school. For certain work, which temporarily some whites may be able to do better than the Negroes, there can be no objection to such service. But if the Negro is to be forced to live in the ghetto, he can more easily develop out of it under his own leadership than under that which is superimposed. The Negro will never be able to show all of his originality as long as his efforts are directed from without by those who socially proscribe him. Such friends will unconsciously keep him in the ghetto.
Wait, that just makes me think of, I ain't gonna lie, that makes me think of ADOS, man.
Make you think of ADOS?
Yeah.
Okay, a little bit.
From the perspective that they're saying, oh, this black culture is our, I'm an American descendant of slavery. Mm-hmm. But where did that culture come from? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Where did that come? Like, where did those ideas, where did those cultural practices come from? It came from this European, you know, mindset that they gave you. So that just made me really think of that and how, like, these people, unconsciously keep the other people in the ghetto. I don't know. That's just where my mind went, man.
No, I'm with you on that. And if anybody in here doesn't know what ADOS is, it's a whole movement of people pushing for it to, again, like we said in the beginning, we've had so many different names. Now people are trying to say, oh, we're American descendants of slavery. First, you're not a descendant of slavery, you're a descendant of Africans. Second, if we're talking about Americans, we know historically American just means white. So what exactly are you saying when you say American descendant of slavery? Now, not necessarily, and again, when exactly did you become American? Because as Jacob Carruthers puts it, if we go historically, people didn't start saying that until maybe like the 18th century. And these are like descendants of people that were still trying to escape. Is not necessarily, and when you say that, like, I'm not saying you don't have rights to this land. Because we all know everybody really does at the end of the day. But we also had people here too. Again, like Abu Bakari was here way before Christopher Columbus came here. A good book to check that out would be They Came Before Columbus. And there's more works also even before then. You can look at the migration patterns before the transatlantic slave trade. So inherently, you've always been here. Yeah, so like it's not an argument on do you deserve the rights to this land. It's just stop calling yourself an American descendant of slavery. Stop being divisive and putting yourself against your African brothers and sisters that are on the continent or the diaspora that are in Brazil that have even more black people there than we do here. You know, stop pushing away the power that you actually already have.
Exactly. And you know, I like to say that, you know, we are not African Americans. We are Africans in America. And people would love to claim about the things that make them black, right? Things that make them that make they like to cling on to these things that make them black, but they don't recognize those things as African.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're really African, so they put down, they shy away the African identity, but we if we unified around that identity, we weigh more as African than we are just as American descendants of slavery. So that's minimizing and limiting our political power. So under our identity of African, which we know we're all really African, identifying as African and uniting with African and indigenous people across the globe, our power increases from 0.0000001 to 100 million. Yeah.
You can't, again, like we said in the beginning, stop saying you don't my bad. I ain't trying to tell you what to think. But think about it, bro. Here, they're trying to tell you you're a minority. That sets you up in a mind frame to already think that you're less than. Stop saying that. Anytime somebody says minority, like Neely Fuller Jr. or Dr. Francis Chris Wilson says, you need to reply and say, oh yeah, the global majority? That is a total different mindset to think that you are the global majority.
Like, and go on Google, go on your favorite web browser, and look up the world demographics and see who the real minority is.
Yeah, I'll say I wouldn't even say people of color. I'll say non-white. Don't say people of color. Say non-white. Stop othering yourself. You gotta other the oppressor. you fighting.
I love that, bro.
These liberal people got you all screwed up, and they never really thought about it. So like, no, we non-white. We are non-white. That is the point. We non-white. Everybody else's culture is very similar. They're the only ones with a different culture. You're non-white. But dang, I'm going on another tangent, dog. I appreciate the hearts, though.
Yeah, we appreciate all the love from all y'all in there, for sure, man.
Nah, that's y'all fault for me going on this tangent, bro. They hyping me up, bro.
Look, we gonna keep hyping each other up too, man.
Yeah, but I want to just respond to her saying, please be here every night, bro. We doing Tuesdays and Thursdays for this, so we will be back. My bro, King, my brother Nick, right there, bro. He be on this wave too, man. He's a thinker. He's a thinker.
Okay. So if we got any thinkers on here that like what we do here on these lives, we actually have a book club. If you want to tap in with us in our book club, you can follow us on Instagram at UnlockedTBC, or just send us a message and we'll let you know what our book club is about and how you can join and get involved. Currently, we are reading The Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. We actually have not had our first discussion on this book. So we will begin our first discussion on February 21st. At 7 p.m. It's a Sunday at 7, and if you want to be involved in that and you want more information and the PDF of the book, you can go and type that in for them.
Yeah, I got
you. You can send us a message and we'll get that too. We'll get all the information to y'all. Much love, y'all.
Yeah, we also in the process of making sure that we can stay connected within the 2 weeks that we reading. So once we get our Discord set up, we'll also be sending that out, have a listserv for you guys. So again, we trying to do this so we can move forward together. Like we're not reading just to be reading information. We just trying to get like-minded people so we can have like-minded solutions so that we can move in progression.
And our slogan is Black liberation through education and putting solutions into action.
Yeah.
Word.
So, all right. Let's see. I was at Emancipation, right? Or no. My bad. Yeah, we should not take the position, bro. Yeah. Do y'all remember where I was at? Such friends will unconsciously. That's where we were. Such friends will unconsciously keep him in the ghetto. Okay.
Yeah.
Damn, I ain't even touch on that, bro. That right there is what I'm talking about, bro. They will unconsciously keep you down, bro. Do not let liberal educators subconsciously keep you down, bro. Because you have your mind is limitless. Anything you imagine, you can make possible, but you got to do it together. Because again, like our bro Tolu said, you got 500,000 people together, and all of y'all just put $5 up. Imagine what you can do. But I'm gonna continue. So herein, however, the emphasis is not upon the necessity for separate systems, but upon the need for common sense schools and teachers who understand and continue in sympathy with those whom they instruct. Those who take the position to the contrary have the idea that education is merely a process of imparting information. One who can give out these things or devise an easy plan for so doing, then is an educator. In a sense, this is true, but it accounts for most of the troubles of the Negro. Real education means to inspire people to live more abundantly. I'm gonna read that one more time.
Yeah, I was about to say, you got to read this whole sentence over again once you say it the first time.
All right. Yeah. I'm going to read the whole sentence and then I'm going to read that. Real education means to inspire people to live more abundantly, to learn to begin with life as they find it and make it better. But the instruction so far given Negroes in colleges and university has worked to the contrary. So one more time. And this kind of touches on when we talked about earlier when we were asking what kind of standards should we have, because I definitely had this one highlighted.
I got to highlight this.
Real education means to inspire people to live more abundantly, to learn to begin with life as they find it and make it better. But the instruction so far given Negroes in colleges and universities has worked to the contrary. So, in most cases, such graduates have merely increased the number of malcontents who offer no program for changing the undesirable conditions about which they complain. One should rely upon protest only when it is supported by a constructive program. Unfortunately, Negroes who think as the author does. Oh, my bad. This is where I wanted you to read. Hold on. I ain't reading no more.
Okay. Let me just send some love to my aunt right there.
Okay. What's up, fam?
All right. So, unfortunately, Negroes who think as the author does and dare express themselves are branded as opponents of interracial cooperation. As a matter of fact, however, such Negroes are the real workers in carrying out a program of interracial effort. Cooperation implies equality of the participants in the particular task at hand. On the contrary, however, the usual way now is for whites to work out their plans behind closed doors, have them approved by a few Negroes serving nominally on the board, and then employ a white or mixed staff to carry out their program.
Oh,
This is
pause,
this is
dog.
not interracial cooperation.
Pause, dog. Cause I don't think many people know who exactly was pulling the strings behind the NAACP. All right, I need y'all to actually go look it up. Like, who exactly really formed, besides W.E.B. Du Bois, who actually forms the NAACP? And that is essentially what he's talking about right here. So
I'm pretty sure it's some Jewish folk, wasn't it?
I can't. All I know is they was Caucasian Grugu, bro. That's all I know.
The other part out of it, yeah. Okay. My bad.
No, you good. I'm underlining.
Okay. It is merely to the ancient idea of calling upon the inferior to carry out the orders of the superior. To express it in post-classic language, as did Jesse O. Thomas, the Negroes do the coing and the whites do the operating. I like the way they broke that down. This unsound attitude of the friends of the Negro is due to the persistence of the medieval idea of controlling underprivileged classes. Behind closed door, these friends say you need to be careful in advancing Negroes to commanding positions unless it can be determined beforehand that they will do what they are told to do. You can never tell when some Negroes will break out and embarrass their friends. After being advanced to positions of influence, some of them have been known to run amok and advocate social equality or demand for their race the privileges of democracy when they should restrict themselves to education and religious development. It is often said, too, that the time is not right for Negroes to take over the administration of their institution, for they do not have the contacts for raising money. But what becomes this argument when we remember what Booker T. Washington did for Tuskegee and observe that R.R. Moulton and John Hope are doing today? As the first Negro president of Howard University, Mordecai W. Johnson has raised more money for that institution among philanthropists than all of its former presidents combined. Furthermore, if after 3 generations the Negro colleges have not produced men qualified to administer their affairs, such an admission is an eloquent argument that they have failed ingloriously and should be immediately closed.
I really pause right there. Because as we know, bro, we have definitely, what's up, fam? We have definitely had some great presidents at our HBCUs. However, over time, we know that they cannot run a curriculum that is actually really beneficial for us because of who is actually funding them.
Funding these universities.
You know, a lot of them are becoming public, so that's government funded now. So you're not gonna run anything that's really gonna help you. Like again,
especially if it's gonna cut off their money, you're not gonna do nothing that's gonna cut off their money.
Exactly.
That's how you making your own personal money. So when we attach to that, it's a tie.
Exactly. And then when they're private, well, I mean, it's only so much you can do. You know, like you depend on your alumni for donations, or you depend on, or you might have to do some shucking and jiving for some folks. You know, you might have to do something to get this money or something like that. And this is just showing the predicament that we in, and why it is very, very important to actually be a donor to these institutions to actually get the type of curriculum that you want, or create your own school. Like maybe we need a new Tuskegee. We need a new institution that's for us. You know, like and there's people out here that's doing homeschooling. They can eventually, like private schools, they can eventually become like trade schools. They can eventually become bigger universities. It's been done. Like Booker T. Washington showed it. It's been done before. I don't think it can be done again.
Oh, shit. And if it's not empowering, we gotta let it go.
Exactly.
Sorry. If it's not putting us in the right direction, it's not for us, and we need to cut those ties.
Exactly.
All right. So recently, someone asked me how I connect my criticism of the higher education of the Negroes with new developments in this sphere, and especially with the 4 universities in the South, which are to be made possible by the millions obtained from governments, boards, and philanthropists. I believe that the establishment of these 4 centers of learning at Washington, Atlanta, Nashville, and New Orleans can be so as to mark an epic in the development of the Negro race. On the other hand, there is just as much possibility for a colossal failure of the whole scheme. If these institutions are to be the replica of universities like Harvard, Yale, Columbia, and Chicago, if the men who are to administer them and teach them in them are to be products of the roll-top desk theorists who have never touched the life of the Negro, the money thus invested will be just as profitably spent if it is used to buy peanuts to throw at the animals in a circus. That's like poetry right
Sad.
there.
That's sad too, though.
I'm not gonna lie, that's like poetry. But I think that just in what he's saying right here, man, I know a lot of people debate whether you go to a HBCU or you go to a PWI. They're not teaching the right things. It really, I mean, it makes some difference, but how much of a difference does it really make?
I feel like your experience is the difference in that aspect. Like for instance, at UGA, you got bugger. Yeah. You literally have 7% of UGA is black people. So you come together. You got bugger. I know some PWIs, like some people try to make it seem like, oh, we still got an HBCU going on, but it's not. It's just not the same. Like I don't see as many professors here that are something for me to look to attain some type of status or something that I really want to be like.
Exactly. The most black people I see on campus ain't the students, and it ain't the teachers. Mm-mm. It's the workers, and that lets you know something about the PWIs.
And then they're gonna try to use you when you retire.
Exactly, precisely.
So like, I don't know about that. But just for those that don't know what I'm talking about, there's a woman that's very well known, great lady that worked in
Sandra.
Yeah, Miss Sandra.
Man, let's send her hella love right now, man. I wish I had like a little singing ball or something just to send her some her energy, light, and love right now.
She is well loved at UGA, and she recently retired. And then UGA was basically trying to exploit her retirement by like trying to get people to donate to create a scholarship that was supposed to be in her name, supposedly. But it's like, you didn't do anything to really benefit her. Like, if you actually look at how much she made this entire time that she's been here, and actually in helping to help young black individuals feel like, oh, I got a piece of home. Like, I got that auntie here that actually cares.
They should have dropped. They should have just put her Cash App in the post and told everybody to hit her Cash App.
Right. Someone close to her actually did though.
So. Oh yeah. Word. I need to hit that.
But we can continue now. My bad.
Okay. Some of the thought behind the new educational movement is to provide in the South for educating the Negroes who are now crowding northern universities, especially the medical schools, many of which will not admit Negroes because of the racial fraction in hospital practice. In the rush merely to make special provisions for those undesirable students, however, the institutions which are to train them may be established on false ideas and make the same blunders of the smaller institutions which have preceded them. It will hardly help a poisoned patient to give him a large dose of poison. And higher institutions for Negroes, organized along lines required for people differently circumstanced, some few may profit by being further grounded in the fundamentals, others may become more adept in the exploitation of their people, and a smaller number may cross the divide and join the whites in useful service. But the large majority of the products of such institutions will increase rather than diminish the load which the masses have had to carry ever since their emancipation. Such ill-prepared workers will have no foundation upon which to build. The education of any people should begin with the people themselves. But Negroes thus trained have been dreaming about the ancients of Europe and those who have tried to imitate them. In a course at Harvard, for example, students were required to find out whether Pericles was justly charged with trying to supplant the worship of Jupiter with that of Juno. Since that time, Negroes thus engaged have learned that they should have been much better prepared for the work among the Negroes in the Black Belt if they had spent that time learning why John Jasper of Sun Do Move fame joined with Joshua in contending that the planet stood still in the middle of the line while he fought the battle of the second time. I'm not really sure what that's pointing to exactly.
Man, the first time I read this, I must have looked it up because I got like brackets around it,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I can't remember, to be honest.
um, Talking the other day with one of the men now giving the millions to build the 4 Negro universities in the South. However, I find that he is of the opinion that accredited institutions can be established in the mushroom fashion with theorists out of touch with the people. In other words, you can go almost anywhere and build a $3 million plant, place in charge a white man to do what you want accomplished, and in a short while he can secure or have trained to order the men necessary to make a university. We want here, he will say, a man who has his master's degree in English. Send me another who has his doctor's degree in sociology, and I can use one more in physics. Now, experience has shown that men of this type may fill in, but a university cannot be established with such raw recruits. The author once had some experience in trying to man a college in this fashion, and the result was a story that would make an interesting headline for the newspapers. When Dr. William Rainey Harper was establishing the University of Chicago, he called to the headship of the various departments only men who had distinguished themselves in the creative world. Some had advanced degrees and some had not. Several of them had never done any formal graduate work at all. All of them, however, were men whose thought was moving the world. It may be argued that Negroes have no such men and must have them trained, but such a thing cannot be forced as we are doing now. It would be much better to stimulate the development of the more progressive teachers of old than experiment with novices produced by the degradation of higher education. So, I mean, I feel like we just covered a lot, but something that, stood out to me right there was that the higher institutions that they're modeling after aren't employing these highly educated people. They're employing people from a large spectrum, but everybody who they were employing were people that were saying and teaching impactful things and changing the world. But in
Exactly.
these Negro institutions, all we're doing is highlighting these miseducated people, whether it be white or black, and we're putting them into positions, but they're not really doing anything to change the world. So, they're not even truly following the model of what these institutions are supposed to be, made after.
Exactly. I'm not gonna go to a teacher of business to learn about business versus a person who's actually a businessman, actually
Mm-hmm.
in the field every day that I can shadow and actually learn, be a protege, and actually get the actual field work. Like again, that's essential right there. Why would I choose a biology teacher but they don't do any actual work? Like all they do is teach it.
Yeah, that's real, man. And for everybody that's just coming in here, what's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? We are reading The Mis-Education of the Negro. Me and my brother here, the Black Academic. I'm the Hood Pharmacist. And we run a book club called Unlock TBC. If you type that in on IG, you'll find our page. And if you like what you see here, tap in with us there. It's at Unlocked, like the word Unlocked TBC. And Zach will go ahead and put that in the chat for y'all. The degradation of the doctorate especially dawned upon the author the other day more clearly than ever when a friend of his rushed into his office saying, "I've just been trying to see you for several days. I have just failed to get a job for which I had been working, and I am told that I cannot expect a promotion until I get my darker's degree." And he spells that in a very Ebonics way, and he's saying doctor's degree. This is what he called it. He could not even pronounce the words, but he is determined to have his doctor's degree to get his job in sight. This shameful status of higher education is due in a large measure to low standards of institutions with its tendency towards the diplomal procedure. To get a job or to hold one, you go in and stay until they grind you out a doctor's degree, and you do not have to worry any further. The assumption is that almost any school will be glad to have you thereafter, and you will receive a large salary. And as a graduate of a prominent
Top
institution,
25.
a top 25 institution, I know that me and a lot of my other fellow classmates have a hard time, finding jobs that will pay us what we deserve. Um, so I'm gonna keep on going. Investigation has shown, however, that men who have the doctorate not only lose touch with the common people, but they do not do as much creative work as those of less formal education. After having this honor conferred upon them, these so-called scholars often rest on their ears. Few persons have thought of the seriousness of such inertia among men who are put in the lead of things because of meeting statutory requirements of frontier universities which are not on the frontier. The General Education Board and the Julius Rosenwald Fund have a policy which may be a partial solution of the underdeveloped Negro college instructors problem. And what's up, Chuma? Good to see you in here, bro. These foundations are giving Negro teachers scholarships to improve themselves for work in the sphere in which they are now laboring in the South. These boards, as a rule, do not send one to the school of work for the doctor's degree. If they find a man of experience and good judgment showing possibilities for growth, they'll provide him to study a year or more to refresh his mind with whatever there is new in his field. Experience has shown that teachers thus developed have later done much better work than doctors of philosophy made to order. The northern universities, moreover, cannot do graduate work for Negroes along certain lines when they are concentrating on the educational needs of people otherwise circumstanced. The Graduate School for Negroes studying chemistry is with George W. Carver at Tuskegee. At least 100 youth should wait daily upon the words of this scientist to be able to pass on to the generations unborn his great knowledge of agricultural chemistry. And if y'all didn't know this, there's a thing in agriculture where you rotate the crops, and it creates a process in which you don't deplete the soil. And George W. Carver not only created the peanut, but he also had a large role in creating that process, which is very important. Negroes desiring to specialize in agriculture should do it with workers like T.M. Campbell and B.F. Hubert among the Negro farmers of the South. In education itself, the situation is the same. Neither Columbia nor Chicago can give an advanced course in Negro rural education, for their work in education is based primarily upon what they know of the educational needs of the whites. Such work for Negroes must be done under the direction of the trailblazers who are building schoolhouses and reconstructing the educational programs of those in the backwoods. Leaders of this type can supply the foundations upon which a university of realistic education may be established. We offer no argument here against earning advanced degrees, but these should come as honors conferred for training crowned with scholastic distinction, not to enable a man to increase his salary or find better paying positions. These schools, which are now directing attention exclusively to these external marks of learning, will not contribute much to the uplift of the Negro. So like we were saying earlier, we're not getting these degrees just to make us money. We're doing them for the reason of, advancing our peoples. In Cleveland, not so long ago, the author found at the Western Reserve University something unusually encouraging. A native of Mississippi, a white man trained in a northern university and now serving as a professor in one, has under him a sociology, a Negro student from Georgia. For his dissertation, this Negro is collecting the sayings of his people in everyday life, their morning greetings, their remarks about weather, their comments on things which happen around them, their reactions to things which strike them as unusual, and their efforts to interpret life as the paranormal passes before them. This white Mississippian and the black Georgian are on the right way to understand the Negro, and if they do not fall about social equality, they will serve the Negro much better than those who are trying to find out whether Henry VIII lusted more after Anne Boleyn than after the Catherine of Aragon, or whether Elizabeth was just styled as more untruthful than Philip II of Spain. I'm glad to know I don't even know who those folks are or what they're important. So honestly, I'm not wasting my time in that manner.
I do know Henry VIII is the only reason why a lot of people are Baptist, Protestant, Methodist. Henry VIII is the
I downplayed his
importance of his wife. So like that's the one that actually opened my eyes to be like, oh dang, man manipulates religion. like that is the main guy that went against Catholicism and changed a lot for
Word, man.
our
I see my
history.
boy Truman here chimed in, and he's about to head out, man. I appreciate that. And bro, we can connect outside of Georgia. That's what this platform is allowing us to do.
Mm-hmm.
We're connecting with people all over the world. So we have an online book club, and that was actually the end of that chapter. But we do have an online book club called Unlocked TBC. And if y'all like what y'all seeing here, we really will hope for y'all to tap in with us on our book club. We're not asking for no money. We're not asking for y'all to do nothing crazy. We just want to learn with y'all. We want to build with y'all. So in our book club, we are reading The Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. And, this book is pivotal for us understanding our history and where we came from. So we have not started the discussion around this book yet. And if you're interested in reading with us, our first discussion of the introduction and the first two chapters will be on February 21st at 7 p.m. And if you follow us at Unlock TBC, which my brother Zach just put here in the chat, you will be able to, get more information, stay up to date, and you can send us a message. Either one of us, you can send the book club page a message, and we'll fill you in on what we do at Unlocked, what we stand for, and we can actually send you the PDF to these books to make it readily accessible for everybody. But if you do want to buy the books and you're interested in buying the books, we highly recommend you check out one of the Black-owned bookstores in your community. And I'm pretty sure that anybody who works in any Black-owned bookstore is going to know this book right here.
Yeah.
Okay? And they'll be able to get it for you.
So just to repeat, I was looking at the quotes. I don't know if you said it or not, but we will be continuing this on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Mm-hmm. We're trying to knock this out before the end of the month. Again, it's Black History Month. The author of the book is the father of Black History Month. So like my brother said when we first hopped on, what better way to actually honor him than actually check out his work and his material and actually learn like what exactly did he want. Again, we've said before that what we have now is a co-opted Black History Month. Black History Month starts at slavery for a lot of people. But as we know, like my brother said, we have civilizations that lasted way longer than
thousands of years. The reason
thousands of years.
The ancient African civilizations started writing, reading, science, mathematics, spirituality, and understanding and growth of spirituality. Your Western religions have their inceptions in ancient African traditions and spiritual systems. And as you continue learning, these truths will begin to uncover them to yourselves. And what Carter G. Woodson is saying in this work is that they don't teach us about this. They don't let us know how much power that we truly have and how much influence we truly have. So we see ourselves as Negroes to this day. People see that we call each other niggas, right? But what if we looked at each other and we saw each other as kings and queens and emperors and empresses and gods and goddesses? Yeah, that's what we truly are.
I was gonna say, man, at the end of the day, you should really be acknowledging the spirit within another person. At the end of the day, if all else fails and you don't necessarily want to focus on the colors, at least acknowledge somebody's spirit. Because again, we all came from the same Eve at some point. I did want to touch one more part. As far as that whole chapter, where he's just saying like certain education really hasn't been beneficial. It's better for, like he's saying, the education of the brother that was in Mississippi with the Caucasian man was much better than him just learning about Henry VIII and all of them. He says in the beginning of the book, in the preface, he's like, what do you say right here? He said, essentially, our education should be determined by the makeup of the Negro himself and by what his environment requires of him. Even W.E.B. Du Bois in his Talented 10th excerpt, where he has the quote where he says, education must not simply teach work, it must teach life. So again, just to recap on the question earlier, saying what is our standard? What is the standard that we have to have in our curriculum? It must be life. It must be leaving life better than you came into it. It must be taking, what do you say on that other page? When you're actually taking real education means to inspire people to live more abundantly, to learn to begin with life as they find it and make it better. But the instruction so far given, Negroes in colleges and universities, has worked to the contrary. So again, it's best to be what he stressed to us. I know it's going to be backwards, but to be an autodidact, to self-educate. I got like 4% left on my phone, dog.
Okay, yeah, we almost there, man. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who's here and learned with us, and just know that we're not just on here talking and trying to like, impose what we think on y'all. Like this is a collective, process of learning and understanding. So like for me, I've never read this book before. This entire text is new to me. So I'm not, trying to impose anything specific. I'm just trying to learn and build with y'all and, bounce ideas off of each other so we can come up with solutions for our people that will empower us and put us in the right direction. And that's what we are doing with our book club. So if y'all down for that, definitely give us a follow, give us a holler, and we'll get y'all plugged in.
The crazy thing to me though is that a lot of our thinkers, it may not even be something new. It may be something that we already feel, just didn't know how to articulate.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's what I love.
And that's why I love learning and reading, man, because it gives me the ability to articulate. Because, when it comes to things like this, what made me start learning for myself is that I had these strong feelings, about racism and the way that life was. And I just didn't know how to really articulate my thoughts. So, like, by grounding myself in this truth and this information, I am now able to, speak eloquently and dispel things that, aren't true. Like, that's what I want to do. Like, put down lies, employ truth.
100.
All right, bro. So we are at that like 2 hour mark. We put in some good work with y'all. Thank y'all again. And we finna get out of here, man.
All right. Again, black liberation through education, putting solutions into action.
Bibi for Hodie.
BB40.
I say.